Coming up on this episode of Strong Place.
The real thing is being okay with not being okay. And so you see a lot more people being okay with not being okay. But I think as sharing with your significant others, I think that is I think that's a bigger mountain for Black men to climb because we were just wired a certain way. We're wired to be protectors and providers and make you feel okay.
Welcome to another episode of Strong Place by Mental Health America of Central Carolinas. I am Io Johnson, Executive Director. And today, my guest is Shaun Lucky Corbett. Shaun is a barber, licensed instructor, and passionate owner of Lucky Barber Shop, headquartered here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Since he was 13 years old, his passion for cutting hair continues to drive his dedication to the barbershop industry and personalized customer service. His philosophy is, my aim is never to forget my humble beginnings, work twice as hard to improve the quality of life, and make a difference of where I live and work. For over 12 years, Shaun has advocated for community engagement by hosting annual give back events, which include free back-to-school haircuts, turkey giveaways, and Thanksgiving family dinner events. With this, Shaun has successfully supported over 10,000 families in need. In 2015, Shaun collaborated with the Sheriff of Mecklenburg County, Gary McFadden, to organize Cops and Barbers. It is a nonprofit organization that creates dialogue between the community and the police, building meaningful rapport. Due to its large success, Mr. Corbett was selected and awarded as the Charlottean of the Year by Charlotte Magazine in 2015. Since then, Shaun has opened Lucky Spot Leadership and Barber Academy, opened 10 different Lucky Spot barbershops throughout the Carolinas and Georgia, and has worked diligently to build a brand that creates a culture for second chances. Welcome to Strong Place, Lucky.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Am I calling you Shaun or am I calling you Lucky? Which one you like? Whichever one comes out?
It doesn't make it.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I have heard great things about you. You're one of my few guests that I actually haven't had an opportunity to talk with prior to the show. So I'm looking forward to a great dialogue.
Yeah, I think it's going to be.
I think so too. So let's start off with your personal mental health story.
My personal mental health, that's probably an interesting one because I come from a household, just a typical household growing up probably in the 90s. My family dynamic was affected by drug addiction, alcoholism. Like these are things that you see a lot of growing up and they actually become normal. And you don't realize that you're desensitized to a lot of that stuff until you become older. Like my household was what goes on in this house, stays in this house. Don't cry. What you crying for? I'm going to give you something to cry about. Be a man, stand up. Like those type of things. And when you get a little bit older, you start having kids for yourself, you realize like a lot of that stuff is trauma. Because you're like, yo, I should be able to express my emotions. I should be able to talk about how I feel. So, and I think just being a barber, right, and especially in a predominantly African-American business, you realize that we were all raised a lot that way. And so when you're in the barbershop, that's why we use the shop for therapy in a safe space to share things and talk about things. Because especially when you're raised, like a lot of us were raised in single parent households. Your mom played the role of male figure and mom.
Right.
So she couldn't be always as soft as she wanted to be or as vulnerable as she wanted to be because she had the weight of the world on her shoulders.
Right.
She was doing the best that she could. So she wasn't allowed to cry or let her children see that she was hungry or she was worried or she was stressed. Right. So that stuff just gets passed down. And so that's why the barbershop is so important in our communities, because you really be surprised how people open up when they talk to their barber. And I'm pretty sure it's the same with their stylist. When you get your hair done, the stuff that y'all talk about.
Yep.
So I think it's if I can sum it up in a nutshell, my mental health, I think I'm just evolving now as a man in my 40s, really looking at mental health and kind of taking it, I don't want to say serious, but kind of just really looking at it for myself. Because like last year, my mom passed. And so that really opened up a lot of stuff, you know, like with me and my siblings and things like that. Because we laugh and joke, but my mom was 100% Brooklyn girl, tough. You know, like we wasn't allowed to, like if you fail, get up, you know, like that. But it's like, yo, it's okay to feel.
Right.
Like it's okay. And what am I feeling? You know, and it's okay to tell people what you're feeling. To answer your question, it's evolving. Like you just
Okay, I got you. I'm a Brooklyn girl.
Okay, all right.
So I definitely understand that. And I was a single mom.
Okay.
My kids are grown now, but I wholeheartedly can relate to so much of what you said. As a single mom, you end up being mom and dad sometimes, even though their dad was around. And I remember the first time somebody said, as I have a boy and a girl, and my son is older, and you know, he was a football player, stocky dude. And I remember the first time somebody said, you know, he's gonna rise up on you, and you're gonna have to punch him dead in the chest and make sure he remembers that you're still mom. And I was like, no, you know, he's my son, he loves me. And sure enough, within a year, so you're right. Like I remember having to kind of go there with him, and you do end up having to be both parent, be tough. And they say you love your sons and raise your daughters. So yeah, all of those things that you said, I heard all those statements. I think is really common in Black households. And you mentioned something really interesting about now as a parent, right, as an adult, thinking those things were trauma.
Absolutely.
You know, how now do you change that narrative? Like, how do you think that we change the narrative of mental health generationally? Like Oprah says, when you know better, you do better. Or maybe that was Maya that said that. So what do you think is that?
I think, just in my personal opinion, I think the first step is just talking about it. Like I was born in 1979. So when I grew up in a household with for a period of time with my great grandmother, my grandmother, and my mother. So for a lot of years, we just prayed everything away. Just pray about it.
Right.
You know, the Lord gonna take care of it. And I think that is another suppression for mental health, because we avoid it. We hope it goes away. We pray it's gonna go away. And I think one of the first steps is just talking about it. I think that people don't realize just expressing how you feel about certain things is a game changer. Because when you just kind of suck it up, before you realize that you've been sucking stuff up for 30 years. 30 years you've been sucking it up. And then what happens is, what people don't realize is that can turn into situations where you just lash out, but you don't even know why you're lashing out. It has nothing to do with what just happened at that moment. It could be stuff that's just, you know, that's built up.
Right.
And I think that the first step has to be just talking about it. And I think, you know, the funny thing is, I was around cutting hair, familiar with clippers about age 13, but I never really desired to have the career as a barber. Never. I think barbering chose me.
Okay.
And it's just funny how it happened. But I think that if I didn't become a barber, I wouldn't have learned a lot of the things that I learned. The barbershop raised me. The barbershop made a man out of me. I learned how to be a father, watching other fathers come in every Saturday with their sons. So a lot of that is just the dialogue. You know, just if certain conversations wasn't had in the shop, mental health wise, I would probably be worse, or probably be even more in the dark. Because like I said, right now my mental health is just evolving.
Right.
You know, because when you're raised a certain way, like you suppress so much because you're taught that if you show vulnerability, it's weakness. Never let them see you sweat. Never let them, you know, that, men don't ask for help, things like that. Like, we're just subconsciously programmed away, especially in our community. We're programmed a certain way to operate. And in reality, it's a deficiency. Now, I have a work ethic out of this world, right?
Right.
So it's a gift and a curse with it. Like, you're not going to outwork me. Like, I get that as well. But also, that work can be a safety net. Like, it can be, I'm just going to go to work. Like, when my mom passed, we were wrapping up a leadership training that I was doing with my leads. She died on a Saturday, and we would do the trainings on Sunday. And everybody was like, we could cancel the training. We don't got to do it. Take as much time as you need. But I literally had to do it. Because it was like, okay, I'm going to suppress how I really feel by going to work.
I relate to that.
I'm not going to feel, I'm just going to go to work.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just not healthy.
You're right. You saying that reminded me of the early morning that my daughter tried to end her life by taking some pills 4 years ago. I'm sorry. I remember taking her in a manic state to the emergency room because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't think she had taken that many, but I couldn't take that chance. And it was during the pandemic, so I couldn't go into the hospital with her. They wouldn't let me in. So I had my baby over to some people I didn't know. And I remember them telling me, don't wait here. Don't sit in the parking lot because it's going to be hours, probably days before you see her again. And I obviously, I cried. I called her brother. And it was the day I had to run payroll. And so you talking about that, like doing that training the day after your mom passed, reminded me how I sat at my desk and ran payroll while my daughter was in a hospital, and I didn't know what was going on with her. And I think our community, like you said, the way we're raised, you end up having to compartmentalize so much just to get through things that you're right. It's not healthy. And now that I'm in therapy, my therapist said, you definitely some PTSD from that. But I'm like, but that wasn't normal. Who sits there and runs payroll hours after dropping their daughter off? It's a mercy room. Most people would shut down, but I think, especially as a Black community, we're cultured too. We're desensitized to so many things just to survive, just to keep going, to keep working, to keep food on the table. So yeah, I definitely relate to that. You said something about having clippers in your hands as young as 13, and that the barbershop raised you. Were you working around the barbershop as a young boy, or did you have someone else in your family that was a barber? Like, how did you end up there so young?
Well, no, I'm actually the first barber in my family.
Okay.
But I mean, just like any young African American male, like, there's barbershops everywhere. I've had jobs sweeping floors, running errands, getting lunch. I've done all of that. Like, I was actually having a conversation the other day, and I was like, since I was about 8 years old, I've always been about getting to some kind of money. There's always, even we used to collect cans and bottles, like whatever it was, we would take them to the store to get, they give you a nickel, like you 5 cents for every can. Yep. Like, we did that at 8 years old. I've took out trash. I've carried groceries. So I've always had that hustle entrepreneur spirit. And so just growing up in urban communities, barbershops are just everywhere.
Right.
So it's not like it's no different than a salon. Like, you look to the left, look to the right, there's a barbershop down the street, down that street. So just being around it, you kind of can't really, get away from it, because that's just one of the things that's in our community, along with liquor stores and pawn shops, right? But it's just one of the things that's in our community, and so you just gravitate to it,
right?
Like especially when you're not like your biological father or a male figure, strong male figures in your life, you gravitate to where the men are,
right?
Like, you just gravitate to it. Like it's just like, oh, even if you're not getting a haircut, you might go in the barbershop for 30, 40 minutes to see what they're talking about. Then you go about your day. That's just normal. And so when I became a barber, it was really kind of by accident. I really, like, it wasn't like I'm going to be a barber, I'm going to open my own barber. It was never that. I think even when I went to barber school, the funny thing was, when I was young, I was incarcerated. And when I came home, I just knew that I didn't want to run the street no more. I had a kid, I'm like, you know what? I want to be a better example. That's all I wanted. Trying to get a job. This is when you had to check you've been convicted of a felony. You had to go through all of that. That's trauma too. Right? You told me I paid my debt to society, but you like, so that's trauma. People are just closing doors in your face. And I never forget it. It was a guy, his name was Kevin Mann. I never forget this guy. I just didn't check yes. And he said, I see you didn't check the box. And I just opened up. I was almost in tears. I said, look, I got in trouble, but if you give me a chance, I'll work, I'll be on time. And I stayed at this place almost 5 years till they went out of business. I can remember sitting in my car watching them put newspaper on the windows. I'm back to square one. And just so happened, I filled out an application to barber school trying to motivate one of my friends that wanted to be a barber because a new barber school opened. And I was like, if you fill out an application, I'll fill out. A year later, fast forward, a year later, I'm sitting at home, drawing unemployment, filling out applications, trying to figure out the next. The barber school called me.
Right.
They said, hey, we have a competition. You can win scholarship to go to school. I was doing absolutely nothing. That's how it happened. I went to barber school. I got a partial scholarship, worked at a pizza place to pay for tuition, got through school. And I think that I just wanted something different. I was running from the trauma.
Right.
Like you say, PTSD, I was running from it. I could have did a lot of other things, but it was different. And when I happened to go to barber school, it wasn't even the barbering that intrigued me. Like I said, since 8, I've had that spirit. This was the first time I was around Black men doing business. It was the business of barbering that caught me. Like it had nothing to do with cutting the hair, right? This was the first time that I seen successful Black men that didn't rap or play a sport. They were doing business. And I went to No Grease. They were doing business. And they were the type that, almost like a parent, we can't talk about business if your shape up ain't straight.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I gotta learn everything that I need to learn so I can go sit in these conversations. And so that's just how I learned how to really, that's how I got good at cutting hair. Because I knew that if I'd excelled in that, that allowed me in that room to have those conversations and have those talks. And that's just what I gravitated to.
Right.
And so, and it was really just in search of a father figure. That's what led to all of that.
Wow.
Like
That's
if they
really
would have sold vacuum cleaners, you would be up here talking about how many vacuum cleaners I sold. It had nothing to do with cutting hair.
You've been selling Kirby back.
Yeah, I would be the Kirby King, right? But it was just a young broken boy looking for a strong male figure to say, you all right,
Right.
good.
Were they talking about mental health in these rooms?
At that time, if they were, I can't say that I was picking up what they were putting down.
Right.
But I'm sure that there was a level of it, right? But definitely not as in your face like now, right? But I'm pretty sure, because that was the first time that I was in a space with broken people all together with the common goal of trying to fix ourselves. So I'm pretty sure that there were traces of mental health all through the school.
Right. But we weren't really using the phrase mental health. I think that started to become more prevalent during the pandemic.
We at that time we couldn't talk. No, we couldn't talk about That was still kind of taboo. Just say, hey, I'm not feeling right. I don't know what I'm feeling, but what I'm feeling doesn't feel normal. You know, and so now, like you said, due to the pandemic, it's a lot more open to talk about it. And so I think that that's a great thing, especially in the entrepreneurial space.
I'm interested in, I guess, the dynamic of the rooms, right? You said that it's a bunch of broken people in the room, and something that you said kind of sparked a little curiosity from me as a woman. Do you think that men feel safer talking about what we now coin mental health in those rooms, about the things that they're going through, right? Versus maybe with their significant other, if they're in a relationship? Like, is there more emotional safety and intimacy in the barbershop?
Absolutely. 100%. And I think today, in present time, 2024, I think that the talks of mental health, right, are, because there's always been mental health talks in the barbershop. We just didn't know what it was. Right. We just didn't know what it was. But in 2024, now it's like you can see a person admit that they have a problem, right? As in earlier conversations before mental health was like in your face, it was still, like I said, taboo. You know, we would express certain things, but it wouldn't be followed up with, I feel this way. You know, I'm still suppressing my feelings. Man, he did this, da 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 da. But then it's like, that's it. But now it's more like, you know what? That really bothers me. And, you know, I'm really going to try to work that out, or I'm really going to try to resolve that. Like, I see a lot more of that, and a lot more people embracing that things are not okay. Right. We were taught to always be okay. Always be okay. But the real thing is being okay with not being okay. And so you see a lot more people being okay with not being okay. But I think as sharing with your significant others, I think that is I think that's a bigger mountain for Black men to climb, because we were just wired a certain way. We're wired to be protectors and providers and make you feel okay. And so it's just designed that way, that it's just not designed for us to be checked on. We're here to make everything okay. And a lot of times in that space, making everything okay makes us not okay. So I think that a little bit more time, a little bit more evolution will get to that space, because a lot of us were raised that, you know, God bless the child that got his own. We just raised a certain way that as men, you got to be really, really comfortable to be vulnerable. Right. And I think the barbershop has been that for so long that it just automatically, that's going to be the first place that you see the comfort zone. Right. But I think in time, you know, with just counseling, therapy, things that you see like this show, it will evolve to that, like to where couples men are being more vulnerable at home and things like that. So, but I'm sure it's happening, but the barbershop is always going to lead the way in that, because that was the first safe space. Right.
Makes sense. So you go to barber school, graduate. I'm assuming you start cutting hair at another spot. What leads you into entrepreneurship? I know you were hustling and trying to get those coins since you were 8. How quickly did you evolve into opening your own spot? And then what was the thought process around expanding and starting your own school?
You know, the funny thing is, when I got out of barber school, I went to work for the barbershop that my school owned.
No grease?
Yeah, and I ended up getting fired.
Oh.
Yeah. And now at 45, I look back and I know why I got fired. Because I developed such a connection with them. Now you put me with him. I don't know him. I'm not listening to him. He can't tell me what to do. That's that broken little boy.
Yeah.
The first time that I have men that I feel like love me, now you're sending me down the street to somebody else. I'm going to run amok. right? And so by them firing me, I went to work at another shop, and it gave me the opportunity to actually implement all the stuff they was telling me.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I have to fend for myself.
Right.
And we have a great relationship now. Like, I think that was one of the better things that happened. Mm-hmm. So I went and worked at another shop. 4 years later, I bought that shop. And so
from stacking your coins.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and I think that by getting fired, it allowed us to develop a relationship, but also develop a relationship for me as a man,
mm-hmm.
standing on my own, you know, mm-hmm. As in being dependent. And I think that's really what it was, because, you know, I really didn't even want to graduate barber school.
You wanted to stay there.
Yeah.
It was a safe space.
Yeah. It was, you know, like my mother took on another husband, and he struggled with substance abuse. So there wasn't a good environment there for me growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But we're taught to manage.
Mm-hmm.
We just deal with it. Oh, he just being how, you know, how he get, you like, so we learn to manage, avoid, stay away. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not going home. I'm going to go hang out at my friend. You learn how to manage. And so barber school was the first place that I actually probably got love from other men that look like me, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I just got comfortable. I turned a 9-month program into a year.
You really didn't want to.
Yeah, I just did. I didn't want to leave that space because I didn't know what was next. And so I think that's why I was rebellious when I went to their shop, because they tried talking to me like, yo, what is the problem? And like,
did you feel rejected? Or abandoned?
More maybe abandoned, not rejected, because we still have a great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they probably talked to me more than they would have talked to a regular barber.
Mm-hmm.
And they like, yo, but we can't have you in here disrupting our business. And I think the thing was, it was the level of comfort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not comfortable with this guy. I don't know him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to order me around.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to y'all.
Right.
Not him. And I think that's what that rebellion, like, that's what it was.
Right.
And it took me years to probably analyze that,
mm-hmm.
but that's what it was. But the funny thing is, the manager of that location, we're cool now. You know, like I said, it was just a broken little boy. Like, not now. Okay, I'm doing everything y'all asked me to do,
mm-hmm.
school-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Now I gotta go.
Right.
Like I gotta go. Like I'm just getting comfortable with you guys.
Right.
Now I have to leave. And so I think that's what that was.
It sounds like you didn't see graduation as a promotion, more like a punishment.
I'm not gonna say punishment. It just wasn't what I wanted per se.
Gotcha.
Like, this is the first time in my life, barber school was the first time in my life that I felt like I mattered. Because you have to understand, there's no doubt in my mind that I know that my mother loves me. But my mother worked 2 jobs. She did the best that she could. So a lot of times when you're in those environments, your mother's tired. She's worn out.
Mm-hmm.
So she does it, and she's dealing with life on life terms. So she don't even got a lot to give you. But we don't know that as kids.
Right.
You know, like, all of this stuff comes to me after she passed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my mother worked 2 jobs all my life. Either she was working 2 jobs or somewhere getting some kind of certification.
Mm-hmm.
Where is your time for anything else, especially yourself?
Right.
So imagine years and years of that, you're broken.
Mm-hmm.
So you grow up in an environment of, like I said, you manage, you avoid, you deflect, you know, you ignore, things like that. So getting to barber school, I was 28 when I was a grown man when I went to barber school. But that little boy tapped into that, because that was the first time that I felt like I mattered. If I had something to talk about,
yourself,
my instructor, he would talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yo, I got this going on, or my baby mama getting on, man, you know, like, and it mattered.
Mm-hmm.
As in, if I would have talked to my mom, boy, just get out of here, man. You know, like, you know, girls gonna be girl. Like, but when you look back at it, she was trying to manage.
Mm-hmm.
she was giving me the best that she could.
Right.
Well, what she had. So
Figuring it out.
yeah, she's figuring it out.
Figuring it out. So you buy the spot that you go to after you get fired 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Now you really are getting a taste of this entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
From there, do you open up a second spot or do you open up the school? Like, tell me how your entrepreneurship, journey has evolved.
That was a funny journey, right? When I went to work at that shop, it was a lot of stuff going on in that shop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. And so, I made it work and I managed. And, I just got by. Because the sad thing about it is that all the stuff that was going on in the shop, I was comfortable in that type of environment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're broken sometimes so much that we thrive in toxic situations.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's normal. And so when I bought this shop, the first thing that I decided was, this is going to be a safe space. This is not going to be how the shop was.
Mm-hmm.
So I fired everybody. I got rid of everybody. And it was me in there by myself for a long time. Then I started piecing together barbers. And I knew that I wanted to give back. I wanted to be involved in the community.
Mm-hmm.
I had no clue how I was going to do any of this. But I just knew that I just wanted something different. And this was my opportunity to write my own story. And that's how I approached it.
How do you get to a point where you're open 10? How do you get to a point when you're in Walmart?
Being insane. Like, that is the honest to God truth. My community service actually got me the relationship with Walmart. Just like any other barber, I would get off of work, go pass out cars at Walmart parking lot, get kicked out of the parking lot, put flyers on cars, things like that. So for me to be in Walmart now, I tell everybody it's like a real, like, Rosa Parks type moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we went from the outside to the inside.
Right.
But we partnered with the Walmart down the street just doing back to school. It was a back to school weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with a back to school day and it turned into a weekend. Walmart kicked off their initiative that they wanted to be more involved in the community. And so what our back to school weekend would look like was we would do a basketball tournament, book bag giveaway on Saturday. Then we would do free haircuts in front of the Walmart on Sunday. And so, but that particular Monday after we did the free haircuts, the community engagement reps from Walmart were doing the Charlotte Market.
Mm-hmm. And
the store was still buzzing about what happened. Like this yesterday, like, hey, the free haircuts, great event. Like, it's always a big event. Like, they outside dancing, Walmart gives away hot dogs. It was always a nice event. And so the store manager was like, if you want to get involved in the community in this area, it's a barbershop down the street. You need to find that guy because he does a lot. He goes to the shelter to cut hair. He's just doing a lot. Mm-hmm. And so she came and found me. And long story short, she was like, how can Walmart help? How can Walmart be involved? And I was like, honestly, if y'all want to be involved, y'all need more businesses that represent in them stores that represent the communities that you serve.
Right.
And it took about 2 years
mm-hmm.
to actually get that done.
Mm-hmm.
Because Walmart had took a huge loss with the salons.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it took about 2 years to prove all of these college educated, smart people that you just had the different demographic.
Right.
Like, and so we got the ball rolling. And I didn't, and the funny thing is, sometimes my mouth is bigger than my brain. And I'm going to tell you how. 2 instances.
Right.
I'm just really speaking my truth to Walmart. Mm-hmm. We need more Black businesses in there. Right. Mm-hmm. Not really thinking like, okay, I'm going to get a barbershop. I'm not really thinking that far. You ask me a question, I'm going to answer. Now, I don't care if it's soul food, whatever it is, they just need more Black businesses. So we go down this journey, and I didn't want to, when it came through, right? Mm-hmm. I really didn't want to leave where I was. And this was the deciding factor. I was there 10 years, never been late on rent, brought value to the parking lot, community service, things like that. And the landlord, I watched him open up strip malls all up and down our street. and he would put different barbershops in each one.
Mm-hmm.
Not once did he ever ask me, did I want to expand?
Mm-hmm.
Not once do I want to partner? And I knew at that moment that I will always be looked at as a tenant. And how can I create opportunities for others if I stay in this space? If I take the Walmart deal, these people that are around me that bought into my vision and believe in me, I can help them evolve. And so like my first franchise and High Point are the two barbers that started with me at that same shop.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had to make a decision that do I want to continue this journey or do I become complacent and just stay here? And that's kind of how it ended up.
Right.
Up there.
Interesting. How do you shift your mind, right? How do you mentally prepare to going from owning a single location to now like franchising and really expanding? And do you ever deal with imposter syndrome? Do you ever kind of tap yourself and like, am I dreaming? Like, am I really doing this?
Absolutely. I have a mental breakdown every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
I'm in good company.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that, right? Like mental health for entrepreneurs is real.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that for me, to be honest, I never try to get overwhelmed with passion
Mm-hmm.
and forget my purpose. I have to keep my purpose in front of me. I do this, and the funny thing is I didn't figure out my purpose till I was 40. I'm like only really 5 years of knowing my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing it, but I just didn't know what it was. And my purpose is creating opportunities for people that look like me. I don't care about cutting hair. I really don't care about owning barbershops. I do because it creates opportunities. So like if I did another business, it would still be creating opportunities. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you took cutting hair from me, it wouldn't bother me. But if I lost the ability to help people, that would be the thing that bothers me.
Right.
So I think that definitely in entrepreneurship, you have to have that thing that you love.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it can't be attached to money. Because in entrepreneurship, sometimes there's no money.
Say it again.
And if your dictating factor is money, entrepreneurship will break you. It will break you into pieces.
Mm.
So you have to have that thing that you love. And I know what barber school and the barber industry did for me. And I just want to let my legacy be I did it for others. Because those guys didn't have to choose me. They didn't. Right. They could have chose anyone.
Right.
So every day I want to make them proud. I want to make my mom proud. I want to make my students proud, the barbers that work for Lucky Spot proud. And so, I think that's the purpose behind it. The drive and the passion is this. I'm a different kind of dog. Like I'm different. Like you it's hard to outwork me.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the passion and all of that come in.
You ever hear that phrase that if you do what you love, you never really work a day in your life? And that's really what it sounds like to me. Like you said, it's not so much about the fact that you're so in love with cutting hair, but you are in love with helping people and providing opportunities for people, especially that look like you. So do you physically yourself cut hair anymore, or are you now just managing the empire?
I still cut hair. I was just cutting hair yesterday, but I don't cut hair for money. Okay. I'm either teaching or like if we open a location, I'll go cut hair for free. Mm-hmm. Like I cut hair for free. Like we were just at Hill Charlotte's campus over there for Sugar Creek, where they have the transitional housing for people like to get them off the street, and we were doing free haircuts there. Mm-hmm. So excuse me, I was cutting hair there. So like this weekend, I'll be somewhere cutting hair for free. So I don't cut hair for money anymore.
Okay. What would you say to the young boy that comes up to you and says, I want to be just like you? What would be like the three things that you would tell them?
I think the first thing is be yourself. You're okay. You're all right. Mm-hmm. I think we strive to be things because we don't think that we're good enough.
That's good.
You're okay. But now, do you want to do this? It's a difference between being someone and just doing what they're doing. right? I want to be a barber. Okay, great. There's millions of barbers, right? But be you. Who are you? What I would ask them is, what are you going to bring to the industry?
Mm-hmm.
What is your imprint? Don't just exist. What is your imprint? Make an impact.
Right.
Anything that you do in the world, make an impact.
Right.
I don't care if it's one person, make an impact. So that would be my advice. Approach it making an impact. What do you want to leave behind? And generally, when you focus on them things, the rest of this stuff, it just comes.
What's next, right? So you said you found your purpose at 40, you're 45, you're 5 years in. What's the next phase of Shaun's life?
I think just continuing to grow, business, school. I actually opening the school relit my pilot light for the barber industry.
Mm-hmm.
It's like playing in the NBA and then going back to your old high school to coach. I have the love of the game again, right? Because on the school level, they're way more appreciative, as then when money's involved, right? And so when you're dealing with a professional barber, it's just dealing like with a professional athlete, as in when you're dealing with them trying to get to the league. It's a little different. So I like the school play a lot better. But for me, books, public speaking, things like that.
You're writing a book? Are you already back?
I've been writing a book probably for the past 5-6 years, but it's going to be my life story.
All right. Well, I would like for you to leave some parting words for our audience and just, tell the world what you want them to know, what you want them to leave this interview with.
I just want to leave everybody with, if you haven't heard it today, you're okay. And if you're not okay, be okay with not being okay. And if you can do that every day, you'll always show up tomorrow.
Wow. This was great. It was a great interview. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for gracing this set a strong place. Really wish you the best. And there's going to be several young men that really get something out of this. This was really inspirational.
I hope so.
I appreciate you coming.
When my book's done, you gotta let me come back.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Let's do that.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Strong Place by Mental Health America, Central Carolinas. I'm Ayo Johnson, Executive Director. Until next time.